Here we go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, you know I'm feeling good, right? You know I'm feeling good because I get the opportunity to talk to Matt Painter in the 5 o'clock hour, and Hoop is officially back with the NBA starting coming up later on tonight as well. I love this time of year because we get a sprinkling of everything. I should reference this before I forget. Jake and I have been doing the crossover, which is a crosstalk segment between the end of his show and then mine, Monday through Friday, brought to you by Love Heating and Air, love-hvac.com. And a lot of you have asked, and I think this is a hell of an idea, and I'm going to give it up to you guys for giving the idea. A lot of you have said, you need to turn this into like a podcast form, and I know that everybody basically with a breath or a heartbeat right now is doing a podcast. But I would absolutely love that. The crossover podcast, which probably already has a name for somebody else's podcast, but I love it. Because we get into stuff you don't normally get into over the course of the show, like the whole classic hip-hop thing with EPMD and Eric Sermon coming in studio. And there's a point in time, about 10 years ago, with our good friend, the late, great DJ Indiana Jones, anytime that he was a part of a show that came into town, he would put those classic hip-hop artists, because he was friends with them all, on this show. Man, I miss that dude. But I got a chance in growing up in that era of what is now classic hip-hop, it was so bigger than life. And what's interesting, Matt Painter in the 5 o'clock hour, which I think a lot of you know because once upon a time he called in the JMV Takeover on Saturday night and requested Run DMC's Tricky. He is a classic hip-hop fan as well. Now, we all grew up in the same era. But I think Jake and I, you're right, those that are suggesting a podcast with the crossover with Jake and I think you guys are onto something right there. I don't know if we can give you a cut with the idea, but I think it is a fantastic idea. Game 7s are fantastic, too. I'm going to get to the Game 7 from last night. It had a great 7th inning was electric. The 3-run home run, incredible. They're going crazy in Toronto. And rightly so. The thing that stinks is I felt so bad for the Mariners and their fan base because you could not have been watching that game like I was and not anticipate all that took place. Did you guys not feel that was coming? I think now as sports fans, especially if you're older generationally like me at 55, you get a feel on stuff that is coming. We used to say that about the NBA. You just kind of knew what was coming up. You know, that's why everybody always thought that the NBA was out there dictating the terms or there was a blueprint or a script to it. But last night, you just had one of those feels that something was coming. And it did. As fun as that environment was, as cool as it was, when Springer hit that home run and they're all going crazy, I felt so bad for the Mariners. They look like a fun group that, along with their MVP, have overachieved this season to get to the way on 7 games in the ALCS. I think a lot of people have viewed them They've had a red-hot end of the season. Maybe they've overachieved a little bit if you want to compare the talent that they have on their team to what you saw, especially offensively of the Blue Jays. I don't think normally you can balance that out, but there they were. Now then winning 2 in Toronto, losing the first 2 in Seattle, winning the 5th in Seattle, and losing the 5. That is just, to me, that is just a monumental, brutal way to go down. It is almost so brutal that you would think that the only places is that could happen would be here or Cincinnati, like sports-wise. It was so brutal last night watching, because I anticipated in Game 6, but that's kind of how we felt here, or certainly how they feel most of the time in Cincinnati, because you know, as good as things are going on, you just kind of wait for the bad to happen at some point. You're conditioned to feel that way. With the Pacers, that whole postseason was great, and I get up to about the 7-minute mark of the first quarter, in game number 7, and I got to stop watching. Done. Once the Halliburton injury takes place, you're just kind of done. These are things that you're conditioned as a sports fan to anticipate until you're proven wrong or until something is different. And since basically 1977, a high level of disappointment has surrounded the Mariners team, even when they have their high watermark like last night or like this particular season. You just prepare yourself for disappointment. That is, I know, a slap-rockish attitude that I've discussed, but we do know it well. And what really sucked is you anticipated that from the Springer 3-run jack. I'm just curious if there's anybody out there right now that just all of a sudden decided to bet on that situation. Once the Blue Jays had 2 runners on and Springer comes up, did anybody bet on the fact that he's probably going to go yard right here? You just kind of felt it. I don't think you had to be Karnak either. He just kind of felt it. And then it was absolutely brutal when you figured out in your head the batting lineup and you knew that if somebody didn't get at some point their ass on base, that the MVP, Cal Raleigh, was going to be left in the on-deck circle when that Game 7 ended. That sucked. I mean, as a sports fan, you go, man, I want to see. And I think it was even Hoffman after the game who closed out the game for the Blue Jays said, you know what? The whole priority here was not getting to Raleigh. And he didn't. And you can look back at the 8th inning when Suarez took that call strike 3 that was a little bit inside. Or the fact in the top of the 9th inning, they had 2 dudes that you knew were so overmatched they had no chance. And then Rodriguez basically swings at 3 bad balls. And your MVP is left in the on-deck circle. That is the ultimate right there. But believe me, we around here know exactly how that feels, don't we? Maybe not in a similar capacity, but in the realm of it, I think you know how that feels. Interesting to say the least. Now, Pacers at practice earlier today. Cam Jones apologized. And I know Rick Carlisle said on the morning show this morning, the Pacer head coach, this is going to turn out to be nothing more than, a blip on the radar or a speeding ticket. And certainly a lot was made of it yesterday. And Cam Jones is going to learn that, you just go ahead and pull it over or be 5 minutes earlier, I guess, 10 minutes earlier, and not have to go 90 in a 65 or whatever. But it does seem like all of this, and believe me, I will say this, we don't spend enough time, I think, after an athlete especially, it's magnified, that they make a mistake, make a wrong move, that you come back and you're contrite about it and you make the right move. And getting in front of the cameras and the microphones today for the Pacers rookie from Marquette, that was the right move to make. Oftentimes we sidestep that because we want to talk about the whole Jerry Springer type of juicy part of it. We'll talk to Tony East about that, Pacers practice. And you got a bunch of, in this, I know, this concerns me. Somebody that feels so good still about this Pacers team. And I don't know if it's just that incredible euphoric hangover that was the end of last season and the postseason, but I still feel good about it. But I will say this. I embark on this blue and gold season of 2025-2026 with a little bit of caution, and here's why. We already know what's not here. And Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner in Cream City. But the thing that I'm most nervous about is when I hear too much by committee. And you know me where I stand with committees. There's rarely a good committee out there. Yeah, I know you guys, we always joke about because we all went through elementary with the itty-bitty committee. But I would say that that's even a negative, right? That was used at least in a negative connotation, the itty-bitty committee. Committees are always, they seem not to always end well. Is there a committee that's ended well that I'm unaware of? It may be something political, maybe something in the news, because I don't pay attention, as you well know. But when I have to hear, especially as of right now, we knew that it was going to be pivot by committee or 5 by committee, whether it's Isaiah Jackson or Tony Bradley, James Wiseman, and Jay Huff. You knew it was going to be a big man by committee. You hope at some point that it irons out and it's not so much by a committee. But now you have to go point guard by committee to back up Andrew Nembhard. There are too many committees for me to start the season. I don't like it. And then you combine that with, thanks a lot, NBA. The NBA, I should be really pissed about this. Chad Buchanan is going to join us tomorrow, and I'm going to bring it up, and he's going to sidestep it, and he has every right to do that, and he should. So the NBA completely blanks over the Pacers and the fan base after they go 7 games to the NBA Finals because they don't have their star point guard, and they lost Miles Turner. So you're not on Christmas. You don't get a lot of priority in terms of the marquee matchups, the standalone games nationally. You kind of forgotten, lost because of that. But then they start you out with this group without Halliburton, without Turner, and with a couple of committees with one hell of a tough schedule. Now, I will say this. I'm all for, and I've said this before, I like when you're in more of a control toward the end of the regular season. So if you look at the schedule as a whole, as you approach the end of the season, you have no idea what these teams are going to be like over the course of the season, but it does, if you're going to eyeball it and judge it, if you're going to make a judgment right now, the end of the season, it looks like that the schedule is loose to maybe you can ramp things up. I always like you gaining momentum at the end of the regular season. So maybe that opportunity's there. Maybe we're going to forget about how difficult it is, and thanks a lot, schedule makers, for the start of the season. You had no star, no 10-year 5, and 2 committees, and you got to start against the defending champions, and then you got to go on the road out west and play a bunch of really good teams. Thanks a lot, NBA. As What's-Her-Nut said in Caddyshack, in a really bad accent, tanks for nothing. But 2 committees. I heard Rick Carlisle mention that with the fellows this morning. I thought, I'm not a big fan of committees in general, but when you're talking about point guards, you knew you're going to get one at the 5. I just want one guy to be a threat, and you need somebody to be a threat. And even if it's not like altogether one, you need somebody to be a threat on the perimeter. I mean, somebody where you have to pay attention if they get the ball and they look like they're going to take a jump shot from distance, that the defensive player has to, put out their cigarette and then pay a little bit of attention. The other thing you want, and I think you're going to notice this right away, who is going to, if anybody on the opposition, be concerned? And we always said rim protection. And I always got to hear that 33, his rim protection wasn't what it was 5 years ago. You're right. But you know what still was intact? His reputation. You know how much that matters? A lot. Some guys would just dribble down low and dribble back out because of reputation. I can flat guarantee you right now, until further notice, nobody is going to dribble and not try to finish at the rim because there is zero reputation now. That's a difference. And while you can say that doesn't matter, you're going to be wrong, and it does matter. Tony East joins us in the 4 o'clock hour. We discussed some Pacers stuff with him. Man, he had double committees. I don't like the 2 committees to start the season. I still love these guys, though. I love these guys. So much is still intact from a year ago. I love these guys. And I'm glad Hoop is back. Tony East in the 4 o'clock hour. Greg Rakestraw coming up at the bottom of the hour. High school football, you've got, I think, 5 and 6 taking a break coming up this weekend. Everybody else in action, we'll get to that. The college level as well. Omar Cooper Jr., the pride of Lawrence North High School, who, by the way, is having an outstanding season offensively for IU, whether you're talking about he or Surratt or Mendoza or Hemby or Black running the football, the offensive line. Let's just say Kurt Signetti's team's having an outstanding offensive season, and one of those playing a significant role is the former LN standout. Omar Cooper Jr. joins us on the show coming up tomorrow, but we'll talk about IU, their matchup with UCLA coming up this weekend, college football, Notre Dame, and their presence with Greg coming up here at the bottom of the hour. But yeah, Omar Cooper Jr. tomorrow. Should be an enjoyable conversation there. And then the head coach of the number 1 ranked team to start the season in college basketball, Purdue. And I'll probably reference this a couple of times. I believe I know what Matt is going to say. You schedule like you did prior to in these exhibitions. If you remember a couple of years ago, Purdue went to Arkansas, took an L. I think a year ago was at Creighton. Maybe that's vice versa. But I know the last 2 years, Arkansas and Creighton on the road, and you take an L, and there is a method behind this because you want to see your guys respond in that environment. And I think it's genius going to Lexington because it doesn't matter at what date you play, at what time. You can play at 3 in the morning on July the 4th, and Rupp Arena is going to be packed and allowed, and you want to get a test of your team before, example, you play in Alabama. A road test, and this will be a road test, a road environment test. Now, you feel you know what you have in a senior class. You have a legacy solidified right now that's looking to be the greatest of all time in basketball in West Lafayette. You know what you have there, but everybody is saying that this Boilermaker team is 12 deep. The problem is you can only play 5 at one time. The problem is if you go much more than 10 most of the time, that's too many. And then what happens is the biggest part of the problem, your best players end up, because you are so deep off the floor, a lot of these dudes, I shouldn't say a lot of these dudes, some of these dudes aren't going to get clock. And then you're trying to balance that with the harmony and with winning and having a good time with this group, fun-loving, coaching, number 1 group in the nation. I love they start at Lexington at Rupp, or I should say at Rupp coming up later on this week. And we'll talk to Matt Painter about that. And again, just how focused it was to get that type of game in that environment. Give your guys a significant test to start the season. Matt Painter coming up here in the 5 o'clock hour. All right, other than that, Colts conversation to be had too. Colts getting ready for Tennessee. 4:25 coming up on Sunday afternoon. I will start at 12:30 from the BullseyeEventGroup.com Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration. I've got more passes for you a little bit later on this afternoon, too. Really all week long. BullseyeEventGroup.com. Get to watch the 1 o'clock early window games of week number 8. And then obviously all you can eat, all you can drink, and DJ Skids and Laura Steele. It's a fun time, indoor and outdoor. I've not looked at the forecast. Does the weather suck out there? I got in here early today. What was the weather like when you rolled in here about 5 minutes before the start of the show, James? I'm just joking. Don't roll your eyes. I'm joking.
It wasn't bad. I mean, it's like 62, 63 out with sunny, so it's not a bad day out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, then. All right. Now, we'll see about this weekend. Yeah, I think I'm going to lose my bet to Chapel. I bet him 4 times the roof was going to be open, and when the roof was closed, when the sun was out, and there was no rain or no clouds or anything, and everybody, quote, said it was too hot, that's going to blank me over. That's going to be tough.
Say, currently right now, the forecast for Sunday looks like 59 and partially cloudy.
Yeah, there's going to be no roof open for that.
I doubt that.
Anyway, I think I'm going to lose that bet with Mike. We'll revisit that coming up on Thursday's show. Text line is open, 317-239-1070. Jay Huff can catch lobs and stuff like that. Well, I hope you if you're 6'11" and can jump a little bit and have just the slightest bit of athleticism. Hopefully you can do that. The Pacers need rim protection. You have nobody with a reputation of it. There's going to be zero fear going to the rim for these teams, especially at the beginning. So I'm looking for a step up, hopefully, in that capacity. And anybody whatsoever that's capable of being a threat from distance. But I will say this, for what you say about Huff, or really Huff or Jackson, a little high ball screen, rim running, that's okay too. But you got to find a threat. You got to try to make it up. It's almost like watching the film Moneyball. Remember Moneyball? They were trying to create Jason Giambi from bits and pieces of other dudes. So you're trying to recreate. I know you guys all go, oh, you don't need to recreate Miles. He was soft and played with Legos and blah. Actually, he was a productive player when stuff didn't get in his head around here. And he was not a force in blocking shots as he once was, the reputation was still there. You got to find a rep. Somebody's got to create themselves a rep. For that and to be a threat from distance and shooting. James says, I need to break. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Greg Rakestraw, bottom of the hour. Tony East is going to join us. Does Tony have affiliation right now, or is he still a free agent? I know for a while he was a free agent. Tony East is way too damn good to be a free agent. I love having Tony. And I also want to go up. I think Tony plays pickup basketball. I want to go up and whip the asses of all those guys that play with Tony East. We'll ask about Tony. Is he a free agent? He shouldn't be because he's way too good to be a free agent.
He's still doing Locked On Pacers. It says his work on his Twitter. It says work in Forbes, SB Nation, BRWTHR. So I'm not sure if that's still what he is doing.
How in the world? I would love to. You have all these uber nerds that do it nationally.
Oh, it looks like his work is still on Forbes.
Cool.
Looks like he's still doing Forbes.
All right, then. He is not an aggregate. What was I get charged with being an aggregator, or what the hell was that? Who was not me, but that was Evan.
Yeah,
it was an
Evan,
aggregator. Whatever.
right.
I didn't know what that meant. You got dragged into that nerd conversation last year. Thanks a lot.
That was your favorite thing in the world.
That was great. And the nerdy pillow fight. That's what I want to be a part of. I like you all, okay? I want the content and the conversation. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. You guys provided. Thank you. Tony, top of the 4 o'clock hour. Greg Rakestraw, bottom of this hour. Matt Painter, head coach of the Boilermakers, 5 o'clock hour. 239-1070 is the number. If you guys want to go ahead and call in, we can. We got Colts conversation coming up as well, as I mentioned. 317-239-1070. That is the text line number. I'm assuming that's going to be sponsored at some point. It probably should be, as much as it gets mentioned. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Matt, thank you guys. AAA memberships on the rise. And they should be. On the open road, somebody Has your back 24/7, 365. My friends at AAA, gotcha. AAA.com to become a member today. It's 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
You gonna stare all day or you gonna buy something?
I'm gonna stare all day.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I'm John. Thank you for joining us. Todd Meyer tells me that it is windy, storms are rolling in, and the temperatures are dropping. That sucks. Your AccuWeather forecast from Todd Meyer, everybody. JMV, this is at 317-239-1070, the text line. Nerds rule. I don't mind nerds. I just didn't want to get dragged into their nerdy argument. But I do dig their content. I'm not mad at them. Just don't include me in that stuff, please. JMV, rain shower just went through the west side. Everything is wet. Damn. Don't make me giggle. Yeah, regarding Huff, this is from Pelk. Huff has the most potential, in my opinion, to be a stretch rim protector like Miles. He averaged, 1 3-point and 40% from 3 in 11 minutes, adding 1 block. I'd start him, see what you have. Jackson literally cannot shoot. Wiseman might. I'll be honest with you, Pelk, I don't think any of these dudes can shoot until further notice. And I mean, can't shoot like can't hit a damn thing until further notice. I would settle for just being able to hustle dudes wanting to go to the rim out of the paint. And at some point over these games, developing a bit of a reputation, because I think that's defensively, I think that is going to be an outcome that is going to be more problematic than the missing threat on the perimeter of a big. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, our good friend Greg Rakestraw joins us now. Hello, Greg. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Yourself?
Greg, great. Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
So where are you on the road this week, considering I think 5 and 6, right? Had the Friday night off?
That is correct. There is one 5A game because there's 33 teams in 5A this year.
Gotcha.
But this is always the week we go do something different. So Chittard and Mooresville is our game this Friday night.
That's not bad at all right there. That's got a little bit of wang in it right there. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, Chittard is not number one because they were beaten by Elder.
No
It's
doubt.
a really good team out of Cincinnati. But they're clearly one of the favorites. Probably they and Heritage Hills. From the south end of the bracket, East Noble finished the year as number one. They're 9-0. Alex Stewart's done a great job at East Noble. But Chittard is really good. And obviously, that's not a surprise at Chittard. What they have not done, though, is really been competitive at a state level in the 4A ranks. Their championships have come in 3A. I think this is the year that potentially changes. And Mooresville, when you ever had a team coached by Mike Gillen, you're not exactly sure what to expect. So I expect the Pioneers to give them a pretty good fight come Friday night.
Yeah, you guys are doing the game, so does that automatically mean that is that top billing as far as the games we see over the Friday night landscape?
Well, I tend to think so because we give them the television love. But it is kind of a year where, again, if you're a person that believes in seeding the tournament, the draw kind of did that this year. You know, there are not very many heavyweight matchups early in the course of the state tournament. Probably the first big one would not be until next week, and it's not in this area, but it'd be 3A, where Gibson Southern Memorial will likely play each other in the semifinals. And again, those are two of the best 3 or 4 teams in terms of the 3A draws. So, but this is a year where a lot of the heavyweights avaided each other, at least until week 2, if not until week 3.
Greg, Roncalli is on the road in Brazil versus 8-1 Northview. And I'm curious about that. Northview has been really good this season. Roncalli's good as well. That on paper would look like an advantage to the Knights, but is it in this particular matchup? I guess what I'm saying is it's not a matchup that you would see very often, if ever.
Correct. And Northview, from an enrollment standpoint, is kind of back to being a 4A squad. They just don't have that many teams of the ilk of Roncalli that they can play. Now, they do play both Terre Haute North and Terre Haute South. At least I believe that to be the case. Off the top of my head, I would assume South is their lone loss of the season because Terre Haute South is a kind of a fringe top 10 team in 5A this year. Terre Haute North has really struggled. And so, yes, Northview has put together pretty good records over the last few years. it's just a major difference in the level of competition they face.
Well, I was going to also tell those friends of mine of the Roncalli Royals that I think the Covered Bridge Fest is going on, so you can hit that up, I think, before or after the game.
Just hang a right in Brazil, keep going north on State Road 59, find yourself in Park County, you'll be more than fine.
Yeah, don't go south on 59, then you'll find yourself in Jasonville in Greene County. You don't want that.
Stop by and see the Eel Tank or the Eel Dome. The tank is Eminence. The dome is Clay City. So it'll be the Eel Dome. You can go check out.
It's like Greg Rakestraw, the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I mentioned this because the son of Don Fisher is the head coach of Edgewood, and the Mustangs have had a nice 5-3 season. They get 7-2. Scottsburg is 8th ranked in 3A as one of those games you look at, I guess, in round number 1 Friday.
Well, the question really is the game at Edgewood or Scottsburg. Which direction is that game being played?
I believe it is in Scottsburg.
Okay, well, that is easy in everybody's eyes. That way Scottsburg doesn't have to adjust to the red turf that Edgewood has at the Inferno. Scottsburg got beat by Brownstown Central, which is not a surprise last week. The story for Scottsburg is that I think they are 10 years into having varsity football at Scottsburg. After Silver Creek added football 15-ish years ago, Scottsburg then became the largest school in the state that did not play football. So the fact the Warriors are having success is great. In terms of level of competition, it's pretty even. Like Edgewood's best win of the year was against South Putnam. South Putnam is a contender in 1A, Edgewood being in 3A. Again, there's some distance travel that matchup. I would think that one is pretty competitive. That could be a toss-up game, John.
So Greg Rakestraw, he's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I should mention this as well. Tomorrow, Omar Cooper is going to join the show coming up tomorrow.
Nice.
It's having a great season out of Lawrence North. He and Surratt having great seasons along with Mendoza offensively down at IU. How much you remember out of him playing at LN high school-wise?
A tremendous amount. And frankly, he was a fantastic basketball player on a state runner-up team. In 2021, he was a big part of LN, the team that got to play Carmel in a game that went overtime in terms of the state championship game. So, no, Omar was a fantastic football player, but Omar, frankly, would be a Division I basketball player. He wanted to go that route as well. Clearly, I think he chose correctly because I think he's going to get a look in the National Football League as a wide receiver.
Nah, this offense, and really back-to-back quarterbacks, but certainly with Mendoza, we have seen him rise to an even larger level here, both he and Surratt. But yeah, their numbers are absolutely eye-popping, and that goes to show you what that Kurt Signetti has going on in Bloomington, because it was Cooper that stayed, could have left but stayed, and then you bring in a bunch of other guys around him, as Signetti has done last year and again this year, and you see this IU football team right now at heights in which we have never witnessed.
Well, now what you've got is not just the overall success, but you find yourself watching players and thinking, how does that guy translate to Sundays? And clearly there have been guys that have done that even of recent ilk, that have played at Indiana. But now you're thinking about that with multiple players. You're thinking about that with Mendoza. You're thinking about that with running backs. You're thinking about that with both Cooper and Surratt. Thinking about that with guys along the offensive line, whether it's Fisher or Pons or whatever the case on defense. You're thinking, how many multiple NFL draft picks are we talking about from this team? And I'm not sure which is more jaw-dropping, John. Is it the fact that we're talking about Indiana not just being in a college football playoff, but maybe being good enough where they bypass hosting a round and they go straight to the bowl game round on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day? Is it the fact that it seems like, hey, listen, Indiana's going to play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game in their own backyard? Or is the more remarkable fact we're talking about an IU player as a Heisman Trophy candidate and potentially the number 1 pick in the upcoming NFL draft? All of these things are happening simultaneously about Indiana University football. And you're not getting laughed off the air when you say these things. That might be the craziest part of this at all, John.
He's Greg Rakestraw on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Matt Painter's going to join the show coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Purdue is number 1 in the nation to start the college basketball season at Rupp versus Kentucky to start out in exhibition play. And he's done this the 3rd consecutive year of going on the road to kind of get that environment feel for his guys. But this particular senior class, what has you've covered it? You covered these guys as well in high school, at least the three main guys in high school. What type of a legacy are we talking about with this trio in general?
They're already going to go down as one of the great all-time Purdue teams. They're not just playing to be national champs, and I'm not trying to short-circuit anything that they have accomplished or could accomplish this year, but you broke the Final Four curse 2 years ago. You backed up the year after that with a solid season last year. Maybe the goalposts have changed a little bit just because of now the expectations are higher, and the biggest reason why they're the number one team coming back is they have the most kind of known commodities. They are the team that most resembles what they were last year, and they have obviously added pieces to go along with that. But because they have become so good at a national level, because they have become so good at a Big Ten level, because they made that first Final Four in 44 years, now, and I'm not trying to be negative about this, it's almost like win it all or bust. That is the ultimate legacy that this group can provide, is bringing that long-awaited national championship to West Lafayette. That's what this group is playing for.
Yeah, it's pretty special. I don't think there's anything. And plus, it's going to be interesting. Everybody talks about them going 12 deep, and clearly you can't play more than 5 at one time. And going 12, yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see who ends up getting the red shirt out of this. But rotationally speaking, how the clock management is going to go, because you're also going to want your guys out there, your best guys out there as much as possible. So to me, that's going to be one of the major things we'll be watching the entirety of the season.
But let's face it, of all the accomplishments that Matt Painter has, the fact that he has kids that have bought in to say, you know what, I'll sit for a year, that is one of his strong suits. And so if you're 12 deep, you really know, hey, you're not going more than 9 or 10, simply put. If he has to talk somebody into taking a red shirt, I think Matt has proven he's got that ability to do so.
So Greg Rakestraw with us. So you've got Chittard and Mooresville on Friday night, right?
That is correct, sir. And then LC and LN for a second time the week following.
Well done. And then you got another 4 o'clock, in this case 4:25 game, a little post-game show with you and Bill going till about 11 o'clock.
Does that mean that you have a nooner
Yes.
At the Bullseye event group? You go for 90 minutes before you hustle over to touchdown town?
12:30, I believe, is when
okay.
Get going. Somewhere around there, noon or 12:30.
30 extra minutes. My bad.
Yeah, I think somewhere in that neighborhood I'll start, and I'll get a little hoop in, too, a little Center Grove Sunday morning hoop after a JMV takeover, I guess. And this is weird, right, Greg? Like, I get a lot of people, especially the older generation, that don't dig on the 90s music when there's a lot of 90s music weekends played. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but
tell them to get off our lawns. I enjoy when you play 90s music, John.
We get a lot of that coming up on Saturday night, too. Greg, I appreciate you, man.
See you, bud.
Hey, by the way, I just learned this, James. The Park County Covered Bridge Festival actually ended the day before yesterday, the 19th. So, Roncalli Royals fans, no Covered Bridge Festival, but there's still a lot to do over there. You can find it. On the road to Brazil to play Northview on the Knights with 1 loss on the season. Quick break, we'll come back. Tony East, top of the hour. Pacers about ready to start their season. The team that they start with is in action. We'll talk about that with Tony coming up at the top of the hour. And the head coach of the number 1 ranked Boilermakers, Matt Painter, at 5 o'clock. BullseyeEventGroup.com passes to give away as well. Stay right there. AAA Membership Lounge, YouTube Live, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Drugs, Danny? Every day.
Good. So what's the problem?
I don't know.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Omar Cooper Jr., IU wide receiver tomorrow. Chad Buchanan, Pacers general manager tomorrow. I got one for you. The pride of the Persimmon Festival. The pride of the Persimmon Festival joins me on Thursday. Who would that be? Text line guesses 317-239-1070. Hell, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm going to let you guess. The pride of the Persimmon Festival. I stinking guarantee you that's how I'm going to open that on Thursday. The pride of the Persimmon Festival. I swear to you. So she normally doesn't call between 3 and 6 because I've been on the air for 25 years in this market, and that's my mom. She turned 80 a little over a week ago. She said she, quote, walked around the yard and gathered persimmons and made pudding. I guess they're on the ground. I guess I used to eat that. I can't imagine. I'd say, yeah, probably we'll pass on that now. Persimmons on the ground.
Is that what she was calling about yesterday?
No, she was calling about dogs. I'm so sick of hearing about dogs. It's funny. The brother-in-law of Dusty May, the Michigan head coach, lives up the gravel road. This is how hillbilly we all are. Lives up the gravel road from where my mom lives, where I grew up. Yeah, just a huge acreage and property like what my mom has, but he's got more of a farm developed there. And I actually text and call him. His name is Dustin Hayes, a really good friend of mine. I text and call him and say, hey, can you handle this? Can you go down and handle this issue for me, please? He's probably thinking every time I text, go, yeah, that's what I want. It's pretty funny. The pride of the Persimmon Festival. So who's my guest at 3 o'clock on Thursday? Quick break, we'll come back. I'll have that answer for you if you guys don't get it. Win Schuler's spreadability. That's elite level snacking. You guys doing that last night too? Win Schuler's, whether it's original bacon and cheddar, sharp cheddar, or everybody around here, your favorite jalapeno pepper. Win Schuler's is extraordinary. Try this on a burger. Now me, I don't do the bun. I know it sounds weird. I do a burger, high protein, maybe a bison burger. But you slap a little Win Schuler's spreadability on that and then thank me later. It's elite level snacking too, the spreadability of Win Schuler's for your football or your fall season of 2025. Find it at your favorite Meijer, Gordon Food Service, or wherever your favorite grocers have their refrigerators. It's Win Schuler's spreadability.
JMV.
Let me have a Diablo sandwich, a Dr. Pepper, make it fast. I'm in a damn hurry.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I'm really disappointed in you guys. The Persimmon Festival. I'm not the only hillbilly on this show. Certainly listening to the show. You guys don't know what the Persimmon Festival is? You don't know where it is? You don't know who in a national sports landscape you can associate with the home of the Persimmon Festival? I'm disappointed. Hillbillies unite on this one. Because there's zero reason you've never been to Spring Mill State Park or Larry County to go buy some Big Red. Never. You can't tell me that. I'm disappointed in you, I am. Matt Painter, Boilermaker head coach, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Here's one disappointment I do not have. So, what world are we living in right now? The Colts are number one in power rankings. Meaningless, topical, content worthy. But they're number one in power rankings. And IU is number two in the college football rankings. Is this the greatest October in the history of Octobers? Like, I expect to go home and there'll be a constant loop of Phoebe Cates coming out of the pool in Fast Times at Ridgemont High on my TVs. I expect to go out in the backyard and have a cottage cheese tree growing. And you know what other tree going? James has that. Seriously. Like, I'm going to go ahead and turn my faucet on, and there comes all the Larceny bourbon. I'm going to go to the other faucet, James, and there comes all the Bud Light. And it's ice cold. Seriously, is this Shangri-La? Where are we right now? What world are we living in?
This is certainly the weirdest timeline right now.
Yes. All right. Shout out to you who got this right. So, the Persimmon Festival is in Mitchell, Indiana. Chase Briscoe is from Mitchell, Indiana. I got a call today. Chase wants to come on. He just won Talladega, wants to come on. And I said, can he make Thursday at 3 so we can introduce him to Larceny Bourbon Locks and Luna Azul Tequila Shots? Because there was, when he played sports outside of racing in Mitchell, there was a lot of losing going on with the Blue Jackets. So we know that he's a winner. We're going to get him on. Chase Briscoe, the Persimmon Festival, Mitchell, Indiana. Chase is going to join us at 3 o'clock coming up on Thursday. Well done, everybody. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he's a good friend. Welcome back, because the start of the NBA season is official tonight. Not yet for the Pacers, but official. Tony East of Forbes is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'm going to make this, Tony, because I so enjoy your content and you as a guest and your work. I am going to make it, I'm going to be dedicated to getting you a national gig. Let's do that. You need a national gig, because there are way too many geeks and nerds and dorks and doinks nationally that cover the NBA. So I think you need a spot there. So you have any ways and means in which I can help? Would you mind if I went ahead and politic for you?
Go crazy. You got to combine the right two words. Doink doesn't sound great, but like nerd and dork together, can I be like a nork or something?
Doink.
Got to be a good way to do it.
Doink. I like doink. I'm going to start using doink a lot more.
I'm good with that. Go crazy.
So I'm going to get to, I thought Cam Jones did exactly what was necessary today. He got up in front of the mics and the cameras, and he apologized for making a bad decision. So I don't know what more there is going to be after this. It seems like everybody lost their mind initially. Is it bad that you're going 90 and a 65 because your ass is late for work? Absolutely. I'm sure we've all been down that particular path before. You got to stop when you see the lights. There's no doubt about that immediately, or as immediately as possible. But I thought what he did today was a perfect solution in the court of public opinion for the rookie from Marquette.
I agree. Like, driving dangerously, never good. I don't get why people have to defend his actions. Like, it's okay to admit that was a mistake.
Yeah,
I bet
big mistake.
He has admitted
yes.
today that was a mistake, right? But you gotta hiding from it would have done him no good and done the Pacers no good. And so at the first chance today to get in front of it and address it and be apologetic was, I think, the correct decision for him to make. And people don't probably know this part as much, but he's been hurt. He hasn't practiced at all, and that's relevant because he hasn't spoken to us since Summer League at all. This was his first time addressing reporters at all, and he had to do it in a very challenging way in a very challenging time of his life. I thought he did a good job handling it the way that he did, and I think that was the right strategy for him in the Pacers.
Yeah, today. I do too. I do too. Moving forward, we'll see what happens, but I agree with Rick Carlisle suggesting it's going to be a speeding ticket and a blip on the radar, but I do think that procedurally speaking, the right move was made earlier today. You know how much, Tony, I love this team. I love it from a year ago. I love those that remain. I am hardcore defender of how much better I believe they're going to be than what some of the national doinks believe they're going to be. However, what does concern me, and really does concern me, is to start the season with not just one, but 2 by committees. I hate committees. They're never good. And by committees in basketball, that rarely, if ever, works. I hate the fact that at the 5 and the backup 1, we are starting by committees here.
It's certainly scary. By committee certainly sounds like good phrasing, but it's not a good sports thing in practice, especially for a team trying to win. And and you could tell throughout the preseason, and granted, every caveat that you've heard a million times, it was preseason, but that they were trying to figure out what they had, especially at center, right? I think Isaiah Jackson did enough and has proved enough in his career that he'll start opening night. He's a good player, but he had some very low moments. He fouled 3 times in 2 seconds in a game. Like that, that's just something you can't do. He had some defensive plays where he's jumping at shot fakes like he did as a rookie that he's got to cut out. He also had some great defensive moments and some nice offensive sequences and shot it well from the field. But he's been a career backup and he's going to be a starter. And Jay Huff has played 95 total NBA games and he's probably going to be their backup. And he has a lot to adjust to in terms of the speed the Pacers play with, the conditioning required to be on the team. And he's going to have to make shots. He only shot 12% from 3 in the preseason. James Wiseman is coming off his second major injury in his career, and he's huge and fast. Like, that player can be useful, but he has 2 seasons of his career where he has combined played 1 game. And Tony Bradley was not on a team until March of last year, and he's been very consistent for them. But that's just a lot of question marks, and I think you're going to see a lot of inconsistency at that position from a lot of guys who have never had this level of responsibility. So that's yes, it's by committee because matchups might be important, style might be important on specific nights, and whoever's playing the best might just get the most minutes. And Obi Toppin might get a lot of minutes at the 5. That's worked well for them in the preseason. Backup point guard's different, at least right now, because there's injuries and there's light at the end of the tunnel. But currently, who knows? Taylor Peter and Jarris Walker might be their backup point guards on opening night. Who saw that coming? Even after Tyrese got hurt. So it's going to be a lot of guys doing things that they've never done before, or in minute situations they've never done before, in roles they've never been in before. And, you want to give them grace that it's all new, but this team wants to win games. And so you got to be judged on if you're helping them win or lose.
Reading between the lines, what Tony East is saying right there to define it is that by committee means ain't got one. So, yes, until further notice, and I would agree with that. Tony East is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'd mentioned this, too, regarding Miles, and, I was disappointed not in the move, but some of the things, I don't know who the hell had him go down the Victor Oladipo path of dialogue after he left, but, he said all the wrong things, but that aside, I think the 2 things that are going to be specifically noticed, even as bad as he was in the NBA Finals, will be the threat that he was facing up from distance and the threat that he was. He was not the same shot blocker that he was 3-4 years ago. We know that. But the threat would always drive those that want to challenge the paint and challenge the rim out of there, that threat is not going to be there. I think that is significant, and the face-up game where you don't have to pay attention to your big any longer, at least until further notice, is also going to be a big deal regarding the Pacer big men and trying to find that right person to get and to log the most minutes at that position.
I agree, and a lot of their players that they might play at center can do good things at the 5. Isaiah's shot blocking and defense is good. Jay Huff's shooting throughout his career has been good. Tony Bradley is their best rebound, or maybe their best rebounder. James Wiseman's pretty good at that too. But none of them combine all the things Miles Turner does. That's why Miles Turner just got $100 million. And so finding out how they can replace those things in other ways is now their new challenge at that position. And what stood out to me in the preseason, one is when Toppin was at the 5, I thought personally the Pacers looked their best. You wonder how much they're going to be willing to turn to that, right? Because in past playoffs, that's worked for them. But Turner also, the finals was bad, but he, in other series, the last 2 playoffs, was largely pretty good. And defenses were afraid to leave him open. Even in the playoffs, none of the other centers have that. Even Jay Huff, who's made a good number of his threes in his career, he doesn't shoot that many. So defenses don't really care. They're like, you know what, go ahead. If you make it, whatever. So how they manufacture spacing without as much shooting will be interesting. And the other thing that Miles Turner got very good at once Halliburton got to the Pacers is, how often did Miles Turner catch it at the top of the key, and it was his job to decide to either throw it back to the guy who gave it to him, swing it to the other side, shoot, shot fake and drive, whatever. He had to make a quick decision, and he did. And that's hard to do. You are getting the team from action to action or action to shot. And you have to be threatening and smart and quick to do that. And you just see sometimes with Jay Huff and Isaiah Jackson, they catch and they're not quite sure what to do, and they're not as threatening as a shooter, so there's not as much space to do as many things. And so, it just stops everything for a snap. And with the way the Pacers play, that you can't really have that, right? So getting the new centers and the guys with bigger roles to be good at that kind of thing that Miles Turner was not good at early in his career. Development will happen, but, getting them to do that very well, even if they can't shoot, will help the rest of the players get moving in a productive way. But how long that takes to look just really crisp and as good as it did last year for a very high-powered offensive team is going to be very fascinating to me at the 5.
Well, and Tony, for the bigs, those 2 pressure points on the offensive end and defensive end, they really do matter. And what also matters with Miles in mind, even if he wasn't what he once was or even having a bad game, reputation still prevails. And you still you still bring that rep with you, even though you may not block that shot or knock down that 3. That's a reputation he has that these guys aren't close to having. And that's going to be a start of the season problem for this team until we find out otherwise.
And what the scouting report says, even on a night where he starts 0 for 4, is that he can shoot and that he has paint deterring abilities. And so if you're a player who's locked into the scouting report, you remember that and you're defending him like that, or you're attacking him and the Pacers like that. And that even if those players get better at those skills, that's what the scouting report's going to say to start the season. So it's a huge adjustment. And obviously, you mentioned point guard too, that's going to be the same for a lot of struggling reasons. But at some point, Quentin Jackson, who's been good, and TJ McConnell, who is good, will be back. They don't have a healthy center returning at some point. So they have to develop the guys they have in some way.
So Tony East, he's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I think Rick said this morning with the guys, and maybe he told you guys a little bit earlier today, November the 9th was a target date to find out a little bit more about TJ McConnell. That really concerns me, and it concerns me not even so much for his age, but if you want to combine his age with just how he plays, he is most effective going 150 miles an hour. No pun intended here, by the way. Going 150 miles an hour, he's most effective. And that cannot be compromised because if it is, he's not the same player. So what are we looking for as far as TJ McConnell and trying to get back into the way that he has played? Because we have seen this. He is essential personnel for this team to play the style they want to play at the level they want to play.
Yeah, look, people talk about McConnell in certain ways, given that he's just not really a jump shooter in the modern NBA. But to be able to play the Pacers style is very hard, and there's very few point guards that can do it, and he can, right? And that makes him very valuable to this team and that second unit that doesn't have a lot of guys who can get in the paint. I think one thing you're going to see early in the season, I'm kind of straying away from your question, I'll get back to it, is that they're going to have to find ways to get different ball handlers on the bench now without McConnell, because in the preseason, no one could get in the paint. and they're going to have to figure that out because that's when they're at their best. But for his injury specifically, he was playing great in that Minnesota game too before he went down. It's going to be really interesting to see who he can be when he comes back because, like I read in the numbers when I wrote a story about him this offseason, basically every player his age and older who's still playing is like a former All-Star. It's all former All-Stars or Brook Lopez. It's very rare that you get to your mid-30s and you're still playing 1,500 of high-level minutes a season without being like a former stud. And he's just breaking all the norms, and he's my height, right? But he's very good. And so you always wonder with players like that who have that kind of minutes resume, is a fall-off going to come? I wondered that last year, and it didn't happen. I'm not predicting it's going to, but it could at any time. And so you wonder, too, what that means for injuries and how long it takes to recover. I believe we haven't been told that this is what the injury is. A little conjecture is required here, but grade 2 hamstring strain, which is, takes more than a month or about a month for players, the average time is about 32 missed days of time from the day of his injury. That'd be November 11th, right? So I get why they would reevaluate him on the 9th, but at his age, I wonder, especially because of what you said, the way he plays and how demanding it is, if it'll actually be just a little longer than that to make sure he's 100%. But like the other thing is, if Quentin Jackson's also hurt, they're going to need him to play. So balancing what makes the most sense for them short and long term, especially because of how hard the start of their schedule is at the beginning of the season, they're going to have a lot of considerations there. And he's the oldest rotation player on the team. They're going to have to be careful, but still know that they need him.
Tony East joins us talking Pacers. So Aaron Nesmith got that 2-year extension. What do you think that he can raise his game? I think he's surpassed from what we have witnessed a lot of what people thought. And granted, he didn't get a lot of clock in Boston, so there wasn't a lot there, but certainly he surpassed that. Where can he take his level of play? Considering what the Pacers did to extend him, there's a lot of thought that there is an even higher ceiling for him moving forward.
Yeah, first of all, he earned this, right? 100%. Great player, fits their system well. If you can defend and make threes, you're a great NBA player. He can do those things. Now you wonder, and this has kind of been a constant question for him, I don't even know if he's bad at this, but his off-the-dribble game has gotten just a little better every year, right? I think you'd agree with that. And it's not even that he is catching the ball and like someone is setting a screen for him to drive to the basket. It's just he's guarded so tight on the perimeter because he's such a good shooter that when he catches, people are frantically closing out to get close to him. And he's gotten so much better at getting around them and either getting to the rim, getting to a shot that he can make, or making the defense rotate that sets somebody else up. He's very good at those decisions. That's where I thought he took the biggest step forward last year. And so you wonder now, and I continue to wonder with his career, when does that become something that like he can do without someone passing to him? Like he's such a good shooter, especially off the dribble, the defenses panic even if he just is handling the ball, like it's not passed to him. And so this, again, it was just preseason, but he took a lot off the dribble threes in preseason and he was drilling them. And those are hard shots, right? If that's something he adds to his game, one, that's good. If you can make threes in different ways, that alone is improvement. But two, it just might open up so much of the floor for his teammates and for him to be able to actually drive to the basket. He's a powerful finisher. So that's always the next thing is, can you become more of an off-the-dribble threat for a guy who's been mostly a play finisher and great defender? The best thing that Aaron Nesmith could give the Pacers, can he grow 2 inches, JMV? He could guard like every player at that point. That'd be huge for them.
Hey, Tony, I'm curious. Who was allowed to, especially in the early season, concoct this particular Pacers schedule? Was it Ty Jerome, Miles Turner, Ben Stiller? I mean, who was allowed to do this?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like they played Brooklyn in their first 10 games.
That's jacked up, to be honest with you.
I mean, I don't know what they'll finish, but like it's very reasonable that they're 3-7 or 2-8, and like don't even look that bad, right? Like that's how hard it is. And again, they play Brooklyn in there. I think everybody expects to beat them, and they don't have they play OKC, who's amazing, and it sounds like J-Dub might be out for that game. We'll see. They don't play anyone that's like so amazing that it's unwinnable. They have winnable games in there, but a lot of road games, some back-to-backs. It's just like, man, they did not get any favors with who they play early. And so for a team that is going to be missing, with Miles Turner gone and Halliburton and McConnell hurt, 3 of their top 8 from last year and are figuring out kind of new style on the fly, that's as hard as it gets. I sincerely think it will be hard to say this if it happens, but if they're 3-7, they should sincerely be like, okay, this is fine. Like we can make up for this when the schedule is not as hard, even though it won't feel good at the time.
I'll tell you what, they win 4 games. And really, I'm going to think positively because I said this as you came in here. Think about this for a moment. The Colts, best team in the NFL right now. IU, second best team in the country. So, yeah, if they go 4, I mean, we know that we're living in Shangri-La if they start the season like that.
Yeah, that'll be a euphoric time, right? And Purdue
Yes.
basketball will be balling at the same time too. Like it'll be quite the time, and because the thing about it is, it's if it starts hard, that means it finishes easier, right? And so if they're in position to make any run for the postseason or control whatever destiny they want, great. If you hang on through your hard schedule, you'll be feeling good about the easier parts later, but you got to do well. So how they start will be telling, and good, as hard as it gets to start the season with OKC, but you never know with these finals rematch kind of games, and I've learned to never count out this Pacers team. So yes, I do think 3-7 is a reasonable start, but they definitely will not be thinking that way themselves.
Part of my love for this group is the pace of play. How far off would you expect it to be? Because, listen, they still want to play the same, but it's just they don't have the bodies right now. And without Halliburton and without McConnell, that's one thing. I love Andrew Nembhard, but will this be a great deal, especially early this season, a little bit slower pace of play than what we're used to seeing?
I do wonder how they settle in, because I think their true belief is they want to play as fast as they have. Honestly, part of me wonders if they want to play a little faster. And that's really hard without Halliburton, because in the preseason, to their credit, their pace was very high, right? Higher than last year's total number, albeit in preseason. The difference was they had an unbelievable amount of turnovers, right? They were playing so fast that it was hard to keep it contained and tight and tidy in a way that actually worked, and they would lob it out of bounds, and they would, try to throw it ahead and miss a guy. Like, there's just a lot of disconnected, too speedy, too, unpolished play. And that's what makes Tyrese Halliburton special, among a number of things, is that he can do this crazy fast pacer style with a million passes and have 1 turnover in a game, or 0 often, right? Like, that's not a thing anymore. And so I think they would like to play just as fast. They've all acknowledged and talked about their system being such a key part of what got them to the finals and to the Eastern Conference Finals the year before that. But it might be hard to actually do that when the games start. And so do they slow down just a touch? The Aaron Nesmith called it Andrew's pace. I liked that. But then try to offset the turnovers with better rebounding, better specifically offensive rebounding. How does that kind of all meld together so they can have as many possessions as possible? Because let's face it, their per possession efficiency is probably going to be worse without Tyrese Halliburton, right? He's an amazing shooter and sets up his teammates for wide open shots. So how do they make up for that? And what's the right speed to make up for that? That's question one. But then the other question is, if they slow down, how does that help them next year when he's back, right? So hammering the style that they have does make good sense in that way too. So I still think they're going to try to play as fast as they reasonably can with this group. It probably helps them the most long-term to do so. But who knows how sloppy that could look sometimes, or they're just throwing it all over the gym. If you're sitting in the lower bowl or in the first 3 rows, keep your hands up.
Are you as excited as I am to see Benedict Mathurin average 26-plus points a game this year?
Yeah, he's going to get all the chances he can, right? I mean, and he's earned them. He's played well enough in the past that an open starting spot he's earned, and he's going to be tasked with more scoring roles, right? Someone's got to take Tyrese Halliburton shots, and I don't think all of them will go to Ben Mathurin. He almost played 30 minutes a game last year, but it's not about the minutes. It's about who's taking the shots and how the usage was distributed, and he's going to get some of those. And in the preseason, he made all of them, basically, right? He was on fire. His scoring per minute was excellent. I know that they are right to say this, they're going to talk a lot about his fit and his reads and his passing and his runs to the corner and, the style of the Pacers. And they should talk about that. That matters a lot for their long-term future. But for winning games this year too, someone has to score, and he's going to be, him and Pascal Siakam are often going to be their best options to do that. And so I do wonder what that number can get to. Is it 26 seems too high to me, but is it 22, 20? Something in that range will be very telling. And he's certainly capable of doing it, and he's proven that. But I wonder exactly how that's going to look for him this season. It's going to be very exciting for him, though, and I think that's probably why an extension didn't happen. If he has a great year, if he has the opportunity to do so, he stands to make a lot more. He shouldn't want an extension based on what he has done. He should want to wait and show what he can do.
Completely understand. No doubt. Hey, Johnny Furphy day today and Jarris Walker day today. In closing here, quickly here. Were we all good?
Yeah, Furphy looked like he was wearing a practice jersey today. Ankle thing, not a muscle thing for him. So if it's just a light sprain, you wonder with that. Jarris Walker had a back thing. He didn't go to San Antonio. I think that's a caution thing. There's a chance he's their backup point guard if he's healthy. We saw him shooting threes at their practice today. We'll certainly know a lot more tomorrow, but I think it's possible they're ready for opening night, but I don't know that with any certainty to say for sure.
He is ready for a national gig, and we're going to get him there. Tony East. You can now enjoy all of his work. Forbes, SB Nation, catch me if I'm wrong here. BNR, I'm just looking off your X handle.
Everywhere, JMV. Just say everywhere.
Everywhere is Tony East. And right now on the Eddie Moore Automotive Group hotline. Pleasure to have you back, buddy.
Yep, good to hear from you again.
It's Tony East on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, head coach of the Boilermakers, ranked number 1 in the nation to start the season. They get Kentucky coming up on Friday. Exhibition starter and Matt Painter, who's going to join us at 5 o'clock, wants that. Arkansas, Creighton on the road to start the seasons this way in the past, and you're going to go to Rupp because you want to test a group. Matt's going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. The stream, the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Hello, everybody. We'll come back to you, your calls, and the text line at 317-239-1070. Next, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
with JMV.
Just an average guy with exceptional hair.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The Tony East Podcast, 1075thefan.com. Greg Raystraw is going to be there too. Purdue head coach Matt Painter coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Don't miss that. Talking some hoop with Coach Painter. Alice in Chains. It's weird. I have a great deal of love for especially 3 decades of music. Maybe I would feel the same if somebody rolled out like the 2000s. But it's weird how some just don't dig the 1990s and the 90s music. Why is that? Just generationally speaking, I guess. Thank you, James, for the Alice in Chains re-entry. Text line 317-239-1070. JMV, any updates on Matthew Graves? My uncle, Dave Clark, was his high school coach in Switch City. That was, of course, WRV. I know Dave. We're wishing him the best. He is a total class act. That's from Matt. Here was the latest as of earlier today. The Graves family sent out this release. Our family is incredibly grateful to share that Matthew's triple bypass surgery was successful. We want to extend our deepest thanks to the talented doctors, nurses, and staff at Union Health for their outstanding care and compassion throughout this process. We're so thankful for their expertise and the outpouring of love and support from friends, family, and the community. That was about 7 or so hours ago. And we send out our thoughts and our best to Matt, the Graves family. His daughter Lily's playing college basketball. She at USI, maybe, I think. Good player over at FC. And, of course, our love is always at the highest of levels for Indiana State University in Terre Haute. And since Matt and I are both from Greene County, Indiana as well. We are thinking about him, but that was indeed good news that we heard earlier today. Thanks you, Matt, for checking in. JMV, is anybody else worried, like I am, that Benedict Mathurin will be playing for a contract and shooting 20 times a game? My man Seltzer, out. Seltzer doesn't play basketball anymore. Come on, Seltzer. I would have to think that would be a concern. I would say this. If he's shooting a lot as long as he's making, I don't care how many times he shoots. But if it's like bad attempts and a bad percentage, and if it's operation force, yeah, that's problematic. Do I expect that? No, because I think that he has too many around him with really good, sound, high-level basketball advice. So I guess what I'm saying, I don't expect that. And I know that there's a little bit of hope involved here. So I do hope and I do expect a higher level of play for the opportunity that is given, not so much trying to shoot the Pacers out of the gymnasium, hoping that, because listen, if you're a high volume misser, you want to be a high volume maker. That's going to get you the deal. That's going to get you what you want financially at the highest level. You don't want to be a high volume misser. So I am not expecting that. I will be incredibly disappointed, Seltzer, if that's what we see. The high volume misser. Just a thought. Harris Hoosier Park race of the day coming up a little bit after 5 later on today. 50 in betting, 50 in dining from Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. We do that Tuesday through Friday. The Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. It is always one hell of a fun time. I'd mentioned just how exciting these moments are considering this. I don't know, was there ever a point in time, really not just in recent memory, but in memory in general, where you felt that we'd be talking about the Colts being the best team in the NFL. And we've seen that before. But at the same time, IU being second ranked in football, Purdue starting the season number 1 in basketball. I think we are in too good of a time right now with sports. And the Pacers clearly, they were dealt a faulty hand in Game 7. But I think we're too good of a spot to believe that the Pacers are going to be down for the count this season. So I have a great deal of belief in those that remain. I think the Vegas odds, the over-under on wins, 37.5. I cannot sit here and always be excited about talking about this group and tell you that I believe that they're going to be under 37.5. Is that the number? I believe that's the number, the Vegas odds, 37.5. 37 or less. I can't buy that, can I? In fact, that sounds like a really suck type of season. And that plays, I think, right into the hands where everybody nationally is going with this team. And I lean on the fact that we've seen this group, even without 2 major players and the most major player. And starting the season injury-riddled and mysterious at the 5 and the backup point guard. And for whatever reason, the NBA allowing Ben Stiller or Ty Jerome or Miles Turner or JB Bickerstaff, somebody that doesn't like the Pacers decided to go ahead and make out this early season schedule. I think that's evident because that is brutal right out of the gate. But I think as Tony mentioned, if you come away with that, and out of the first 7, I think Tony mentioned you win 3 and you can still be playing well and still only win 3, and I would agree with that. I do want to give a shout out because a part of OKC, and I've mentioned this before, is our good friend Brooks Barnheiser from Lafayette Jeff and Northwestern. They start coming up later on tonight. I don't know what role. I know what role they believe that he is going to play as you get further down the road, and I mean years and not so much in days. But I don't know what role he is going to start with a very deep group this season, but it's awesome that certainly he has one there in what is an incredible organization. Say what you want, beating the Pacers in 7 games. OKC is top-notch. Sam Presti is certainly the best at what he does. He's proven that. And it's cool to see Brooks Barnheiser, friend of the show, a part of that. Now, the NBA season officially starts coming up later on tonight. Now, the one thing I don't know, so is this on NBC and Peacock, or just are we Peacock tonight with this? So 7:30, James, I should almost said Rutgers, the Rockets and Thunder. And 10 o'clock, the Warriors and the Lakers. Is this NBC like NBC, where the A-Team would air back on this date back in 1983, or is this Peacock?
According to ESPN, it says NBC/Peacock for both games.
That mean both?
I think it may be on both.
So this is great. I love the NBA on a Tuesday night on NBC. That's going to stir the echoes of the A-Team. It was on Tuesday nights on NBC. Riptide. That was a glorious 80s Tuesday night back in the day, James. You weren't alive to see it. A-Team, Riptide, Remington Steele. Holy hell, what a Tuesday night lineup that was.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be on both of them.
So I'm not going to have to go in the back bedroom and try to dial in the Peacock. Almost said it. Almost. The Peacock. Peacocked. Man, Rockets, Thunder, 7:30, Warriors, and the Lakers. So evidently you can get that on NBC and Peacock. Yeah, those Tuesday nights were good. I can't remember if there was a Tuesday night any better than that on NBC. And it's just, that probably was, I'm sure. Probably most recently. The only thing you can really remember, it we're such now so far down the path of not recognizing those days when you had must-see TV on Thursday night on NBC, for example, and they coined that particular phrase. It starts later on tonight. Evidently, NBC and Peacock. Now, is our guy Noah Eagle on the call of that too? Now, you're going to have guys on the bench. I think you're going to have former players. Robbie Hummel, I think, is going to be occupying bench space. Maybe Jamal Crawford occupying bench space. This is going to be like, we'll see how that goes, because I think we were all kind of tired of the on-the-court interviews with the coaches, and now you're going to have former players on the benches, sitting right there, or at least near the benches. And I'm assuming, do they go back with John Tesh and the NBA on NBC? Play that on that's also 90s, James. Speaking of nothing but the 90s. So let's come back with John Tesh. Now, most recently, Fox, with their college basketball coverage, evidently paid for the rights to that song and utilized that. So now does it go back to NBC? John Tesh. Does it? You don't know anything over there, do you? You just kind of sit there and roll us into a break, and that's what we'll do right here. Roll into a break. We'll come back with that again. NBC a double dip, NBC and Peacock later on tonight. You come back with Basketball Rock from John Tesh for us as well. That also stirs the echoes of the 1990s, because there is no greater sports theme than that one. I'm assuming NBC gets that back. The Stream the App, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member today. Matt Painter, top of the hour. You will not want to miss that. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. email, because I'm really butthurt when you read your email.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, this just hits different when it's opening up on NBC for the NBA. It's just not the same with Fox and college basketball. Never was. You like hearing it, but it never was. Basketball. We'll do the SNL skit a little bit later on, too. NBA on NBC is back, along with Peacock later on tonight with a double dip. Speaking of dip, Win Schuler's Spreadability is ready for you. Original sharp cheddar, bacon, and cheddar, jalapeno pepper. You want snacking elite level? Well, that's what you got. Win Schuler's Spreadability gives that to you, too. And also, as I mentioned, you slap that on a burger, and you can thank me later. Win Schuler's Spreadability, your favorite Meijer location, your favorite Gordon food service, or wherever you buy your groceries, ask for it by name. Win Schuler's Spreadability. Tell them that JMV sent you. It's true. You guys are well done getting in here being number 30. That text line's on fire right now. Yeah, I know. Somebody got on me because I said, man, James, you didn't know that. I've got to teach instead of being critical. You're right. I got to teach instead of being critical. So incredibly accurate. That's pretty funny. All right, quick break. We shall return. Matt Painter coming up at the top of the hour. You get the Boilermakers and Kentucky. That's how they start at Rupp. And we'll talk about that, talk about some of the new faces, talk about the legacy of this senior class in particular. Yeah, all that and the transfer portal and trying to fight off other teams, even though you have guys that aren't in the transfer portal. It's kind of treated like that. It's always really good stuff. Matt Painter's scheduled to join us coming up on the other side. The stream, the app, HG Radio. You can find us inside the AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. I think even on Facebook, too. So many ways you can listen. Make sure you're a part of it. Matt Painter joins us coming up next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
IU wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr. from LN tomorrow. Chad Buchanan, Pacers GM, tomorrow. Brooksville Road, Joe's Grill, Chase Briscoe, Thursday. Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. That's Fisher's. Gigi's, 71st and Benford Boulevard. Bud Light Blue Friday, Titans Colts tickets. I have heard that many on the Cathedral football staff will join from a very reliable source. I can't wait. Gigi's, 71st and Benford, Bud Light Blue Friday. We'll see you there. Back-to-back days on the road. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, speaking of on the road, that's where they start. Rupp Arena in Kentucky. But that aside, everything to start the season. Number one, the Purdue Boilermaker basketball program. And as always, it's a fantastic conversation we have with our next guest. Again, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, the head coach of the Boilers, Matt Painter, joins us. Hey, Matt, thanks for the time. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
I guess we'll start right here. Going from last year to this year, was the start to get better in the rebounding category?
Yeah, I think just defensively being better, and then obviously being a better rebounding team. And I think especially the rebounding piece, it helps with personnel, right? And so, like, we've added some pieces, Daniel Jacobson getting healthy, signing Oscar Clough. I think that piece of it. And then just getting our guards to be better at rebounding. Trey Kaufman-Wren was saddled up with a lot of big guys last year playing the center, and he's not a defensive center. So that piece of moving him over, we're hoping that he can be a better rebounder at the 4. Those guys can be a better rebounder there, but also our guards can do a better job of being around the basketball and getting a lot of those long rebounds.
When guys tell you, or I shouldn't say tell you, but when they say nationally, and I hear it, and I'm assuming you don't, that your team is 12 deep as you've ever had, that is awesome on the surface. But how tough is that to navigate as a coach?
It's tough because you want to see everybody play. It's not tough in actually what you do. Like, you gotta play for the length of your season. You got to play for the following year, but you more than likely are playing for what's going on in the game in front of you. And so, like, that normally supersedes the rest of them. It doesn't always, but it just does. And so that piece of having 12 guys is great because that's what you want. But it's not realistic to say that you're going to play 12 people. I think the only people that play like 10, 11, 12 and stay with that are normally pressing teams that are coming in waves and coming at you and running guys in and out at all times. But, for us getting to that, 9, I've tried to play 10. I've never stuck through a season that way. More coaches, more than likely, as a season progresses, their rotation shrinks more than it grows, or at the worst, it stays the same. The thing about having a lot of players there, it's good because now if things happen, like, you're covered. If injuries happen, foul trouble, like, you're covered. But if you try to play all those people, you're going to play your best players less. And I don't know how you are, but I kind of like watching our best players play.
That's okay. Well, if I'm the best player, I also like playing. Matter of fact.
Yeah,
yes.
No question. Now, the thing has come like Braden, I think I read the other day where he played 40 minutes for 13 games. I don't think he needs to have that, to be able to have a quick blow each half, for 2 to 3 minutes probably is going to help him. I didn't feel like we were in that position the last couple years, and so, like, I just simply didn't do that, and he can do that. Like, he can play those minutes, but if he doesn't have to, and that gets him to where, like, he's a little more efficient, he's a little more fresh at the end of games, he's a little more fresh at the end of the year, like, those types of things can really help. But with highly competitive guys, they want to stay in the game, but you always got to get through some of that, especially if it's emotional, and do what's best for your team.
What has Braden, and in particular Matt, this senior class, what has it meant to you and this program as we start this season?
I think more than anything, it's what you used to see in college basketball, you're still seeing with us. And I don't know if that can continue. I don't, where the landscape is today isn't going to be where it's at tomorrow as things are changing a lot. There's still a lot of uncertainty in how to navigate the rules and everything that's going on. But this is how it was. Like, you'd have a group that growing together. Obviously, Trey came here first. He redshirted, which is another thing to kind of look at, to say, like, hey, here's a guy who's an All-American and he redshirted his first year. Kind of lets you know where our program was then and lets you know where our program is now, because now we're we're in that position here with a couple guys to where, like, they're good enough to play, but we can't play 12 people. So, the thing of red shirt's going to be out there for a couple guys. But no, Fletch, Braden, and Trey they've been great, and they've worked. They've gotten better each year, and that's what you want. They've put a lot of time into it, and it's made me think in terms of their usage and how to best, help them out from a physical standpoint. We haven't done as much conditioning in the last couple years outside of the season, just because they work on their game so much, they put in so much time, and now you want them to, no different than like kind of tapering for swimming. You want them at their best in March. You want them at their best for that run. And so when you get there, it's physical, but it's also mental. The mental part is bigger than the physical part, but sometimes those days off or 2 days in a row off a couple times during the course of the year really helps them physically, but also helps them from their mental approach.
So Matt Painter, the head coach of the Boilermakers, the campaign starts exhibition-wise coming up against Kentucky and Lexington. We'll get to that in just a second, but you've brought this up before, and I think you brought it up, and I want to reference this, the podcast you were on with Joey and Rob a couple of days ago. A couple of things that stood out to me, and one is this. You mentioned the legacy that these guys are going to have at Purdue. And while I did not attend Purdue, I feel the same way, for example, Matt, about my legacy at Eastern Green. It has always been meaningful. We didn't win squat, and we weren't about to win squat, but being there and being a part of something and having that, hey, that's where you were from, that has always been meaningful. I love the fact that this group has such a profound legacy to look back on at Purdue, and that's something that will never change. And this landscape we are in college athletics, it's a rarity any longer that you see that.
Right. Yeah, and just the things that they can accomplish that nobody can take away from them.
Yeah.
How they went about their business. They could have made more money. Like, they just, first and foremost, and some of them have more opportunity than the others to make money going forward. Some of them don't, but yet they still, trying to get back to a Final Four and win a national championship, winning 3 Big Ten titles. They've already won 2. They've really, it's been pretty cool, because the only thing they haven't accomplished is winning the national championship. And obviously that is our goal, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get there, and you got to keep working, and you got to deal with adversity. You got to deal with distractions. And you try to limit and diminish those distractions as a coach, but you cannot control everything. And, it's going to happen. And when it does, now you got to make those distractions make you better, not worse. And so those guys have just, they're in kind of rarefied air, in terms of they're going to be the all-time winningest players in school history. They got a chance to win 3 Big Ten titles, play in 2 Final Fours, hopefully play for a national championship. But more than anything, have fun. And that's what we've put in a lot of work. But you got to have fun with it. If it becomes a job or it becomes too much, that's my fault. You can't let it get to that. You just can't, because you can't want something so bad to where now, you're counterproductive because of it. It's still a game. You still got to go out and play, compete, but, having fun with it and keeping everything light until game time is really important.
Well, and you also mentioned this. The coach likes to have fun too. Is this the most fun group that you have been around? Because it's important now. You have to have that dynamic or you don't really have a lot. And it seems like you have had that. You do have that right now with you and your team.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as the season goes. And I think that's what, where we are. Like, that's each player and every person in that player's camp. Like, it's their job too. Like, that's the whole thing, is to keep that focus of having fun and playing. And it is a team game. And so it's not going to be right for you all the time as an individual. And it's those individuals in each guy's camp that if you can be positive and you can be supportive and not be critical and analyzing and second guessing, because that noise gets inside each player's head. And I think that's an important thing. And we try in the evaluation process to be like, who they listen to, like what they go, because it matters. If you don't think it matters, like in the pros, like with guys on a contract year versus somebody who's got 4 years of guaranteed money coming to them, they're in two different headspaces right there. Like, well, now these guys are in a headspace. They want to help Purdue win. They want to sacrifice and do everything. They want to do well professionally, but they also you want to do well. Like, you want to see Purdue be successful, but you want to be a big piece of it. Well, not everybody can be a big piece of it. Not in 1 year. You can have your time in your career, but not everybody can do that. When Trey Kaufman ran, look where he was at 2-3 years ago, and look where he's at today. He showed his true colors, man. Like, he was a Purdue guy. Like, he was there. He had games he played 5 minutes. Like, he's a good player, but Zach Edey, he ate up those minutes. It's just the way it was. And so now it's like, it's his time, but I've seen it when it hasn't been his time. And, he's been very, very loyal. And those other guys have been very, very loyal. And that's what we got to have throughout the season. We got to have everybody on the same page, keeping our focus, especially when adversity hits.
It's Matt Painter, the head coach of the Boilermakers. As I mentioned, they start out against Kentucky later on this week in an exhibition game. Of the new guys in here, there's a lot of interest, certainly, with the Boilermaker fans out there with them. But the one that I don't know, I know a great deal about is Liam Murphy. Can you describe his game in a thumbnail sketch to those that may not know as much about his overall game and talents?
Yeah, big-time shooter. He made the 13th most threes in the country last year, played 23 minutes a game and didn't start a game. So when we lost really Cam Heide, we looked at it from the standpoint of, we've added Oscar Clough, we've gotten Daniel healthy, we're going to slide TK back to the 4. We just had no rim protection. We needed better interior defense. And so now we're going to slide him there. That affected Cam Heide, because Cam Heide played 10 minutes as a backup 3 2 years ago, and then he played close to 20 minutes last year as a backup 4. There was more runway for him at the 4. Now with Fletch at the 3, TK at the 4, that diminished his opportunity, and so he obviously transferred. So we wanted somebody, if we go small and slide TK back to the 5, against somebody, we wanted somebody that could play that position and be that face up. At the time, we didn't look at Jack Benner as a 4. And so what happened was, Daniel was coming off his injury, but Daniel went and played USA basketball for a month. Liam had labrum surgery and didn't play at all in the summer. Raleigh had a leg injury and had surgery, so he didn't play. Raleigh Burgess in the summer. And then Oscar had visa. Him and Omer both had visa issues where it just, not really issues, but it just took time to get him here. So we had Sam King, who's a walk-on, and we had Trey Kaufman-Wren, only big guys in our summer practices half the time. So we moved JB over to the 4 some and played, and we really liked Jack Benner. We really liked what we saw in terms of his decision-making, his ball handling, his shooting. And so, now, that's where Jack Benner is going to play. That's where Liam's going to play, but there's not a lot of time there. Liam is an elite shooter, and that's why we took him. We took him at that spot when Cam left. But he's been great. He's come off that injury. He's been able to play here in the fall. He's getting adjusted to things. But like I said, it's a little bit hard because you just know there's going to be games. TK just takes up all those minutes. So, like, they're going to have to be ready when they're called upon, whether that's, 8 to 10 minutes a game, or that's an injury, that's foul trouble. So they're going to have to stay ready right there, because their opportunities might not be consistent because TK's put himself in such a good spot.
Here's Matt Painter with us. You fire things up against Kentucky. What are some of the things you're going to be looking for this group to start the season exhibition-wise in this game?
Just the cohesion and just, doing our job and, staying connected as a group and executing what we're running, but executing on the defensive end. Obviously, we want to see improvements in some places where we struggled, like we talked about at the start of this, on defense, rebounding, and then just sticking with, what we do, and take advantage of things that are there, that are opportunistic, whether that's getting on the glass, whether that's getting in transition. When you're going against them in the half court, just executing to the best of your ability, and just kind of expect the unexpected. You can get a lot of things thrown at you here. They're looking at their group, and they're looking at what they want to do, and there could be some change in what they want, and so that's great. These games are fabulous. Like, we got beat at Arkansas, we got beat at Creighton. They're great. We want to go on the road. We want to get into that beehive of a type of an environment, and we want to compete. And it's always great because those are real games, man. These count. They really, really count in terms of your development and your improvement as a group. They don't count on your record. That's why we play, I think, Alabama our third game of the season. And now, if that's just the first road game our young guys have been in, like, that's difficult. That's pretty difficult. Now you go and you play this road game exhibition against Kentucky, and then a couple weeks later, now you have that game against Alabama. That's what it's really for. It doesn't mean it guarantees you a win. It just gives you a better chance of kind of getting through that really, tough first road game.
So Matt Painter with us. Before I let you go, you did reference a little bit earlier the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, which today it's probably going to be drastically different coming up tomorrow. And, you're doing what's best for your program, what's best for your team, what's best for everything involved here. But how difficult is it to navigate that, especially with the way that you have, because I don't know if this is the truth or not, but it seems to me like that even though you may not have players that are officially in the transfer portal, they get recruited by others like they're in the transfer portal. And because you talk about distractions during the season, like the off-season distractions are monumental too. It doesn't seem like you're able to get away from it, especially if you're good or you can add value to another team in this landscape of college basketball.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. Like, there's just a lot of uncertainty of how things are going to be handled, and we thought there would be more certainty after the ruling by the judge in the summer, and there just isn't yet. They need time to kind of package some things and get things right, and it be right on a legal sense. They don't, want to come out and say, like, here's the absolute parameters, and then put themselves in a deeper hole from a legal standpoint. They want to be able to get it. They need federal help. And you can't just have different rules state by state by state, and then, people are allowed to do it. People are allowed to do this in this state. They're not allowed in that state. Just that inconsistency with it. But there's a lot of different rules that are out there and how people are doing, name, image, and likeness that are very gray right now. And it depends on geographically, like, where you are. It kind of depends on, like, who you are in terms of your brand and what you'll do. And what we want is just that stability, we want, that competitive balance to where, like, now it's really like a soft cap, and we want a hard cap. And you're not going to be able to hard cap the actual name, image, and likeness stuff. But you want, from the revenue sharing standpoint, we would love to get that to a hard cap to where everybody has, X amount of dollars to go from. And then what you get on top of that is a real name, image, and likeness. And so if we could get to something close to that, I don't know if we can get to absolutely that. And I don't understand the legal piece of everything. that would really, really help us have some stability, because you got to know how to navigate. Like, you got to know. Now it almost gets to where, like, the rules help out the people that have the most money, and that wasn't what it was intended to do. So, okay, I got the most money, so we're going to win the most games. Well, if you can coach, that's probably true. And so, like, that's kind of where we are. But I don't care what business you're in, you're going to have hurdles and obstacles. And a lot of people will be like, I don't know how you do it. Like, you just do it. Like, you know what I mean? You're not fighting in a war here. Like, you're not
figure it out. That's what
yeah.
you gotta do.
But that's our frustrations, is when there's like things that float out there that there's a lot of differences. Like, you got to have more similarities to where it's on common ground, so it's fair. Like, that's the only thing anybody wants. They want the consistency and they want fairness, so then they can operate in their occupation. They can from a professional standpoint, they know how to go about their business. Then they can kind of make their decisions through risk and reward, but they know it's the same for them. Just like when a rule comes in basketball and recruiting, or a rule comes in to the competition committee within the game or whatever, as long as it's the same for everybody, like, deal with it. Like, just deal with it. Like, don't worry about it. Don't complain about it. It's the same. Well, we got different rules right now. We got different things going on. They're trying their best to clean that up and get there, but it's going to take a little bit of time here.
I know in closing you're going to love this, but this is how I feel you are right now. You stay true to your values and what you believe in, but you also adjust on the fly, which I think, plus you have to have enjoyment, as you referenced a little bit earlier. And we have seen some coaches with high levels of success where that enjoyment hasn't sustained and they've gotten out of it. And I had a great deal of admiration for you because, I mean, you stay true to your values and your core beliefs, but you also try to adjust and what's beneficial for your team, your program, and your school at the same time. And that's the ultimate high wire act, I think, in this day and age of athletics in college.
Yeah, it's a juggling act, to be honest with you. And then, like, it's just uncertainty. So, like, when you ask a commissioner, or you ask your own AD, or you ask another coach, or like whatever, they give you answers, and then it's, well, we'll wait and see. We'll see about this. Like, there's just instead of like, nope, this is how it is. This is what it's going to be like. This is what everybody's going to go to. This is going to be, carte blanche right here. And that's not where we're at right now. And so, like, that's what we got to get to. We have to get to that. And it's one of those deals where I don't know if everyone's going to like it, but we got to get to something where we all can live with it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Matt Painter, the head coach of the Boilermakers, kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Well, get this thing started against Kentucky. I like the thought going down to Lexington and doing that in front of a hostile crowd. You could play that thing at 3 a.m, and they're going to be the same down there. You know what I mean? It's not going to matter the time of year.
It's like, for me, it's like, this is great. Like, you grow up watching, games. Like, you grow up, watching Kentucky, and you grow up watching, big time environments. I grew up, like, I'll never forget coming to see Purdue play when I was a junior in high school. I wasn't even getting recruited by him. My JV coach brought our team, and we watched the game, and we set up in the rafters, and, it was just cool, like, coming into Mackey Arena, like, going to, I played in Assembly Hall as a high school kid before I played as a college player there. And it was just cool there. We played the Russians. My AAU team played the Russians, and it was like, that was like, man, this is pretty cool. But like last year, going on the road and playing at Oregon and playing at Washington, and just like going in different venues and seeing different things. Like, this year we get a chance to play at UCLA and USC. I've never been there, either place. Never been on either one of those campuses. And so, like, now going to, to there, but now I've never been. I've been to a high school game in Rupp Arena, but I've never seen a college game, never played in one, never coached in one. So just that fact of such an historical place, and he's done a really good job. It's not an easy job.
No.
Like, they have a lot of support. They have a lot of backing. But man, it's, it's a tough job, and he's done a really good job, and they got to the Sweet 16 last year, and he's put together another really good team. And so it's going to be interesting. I know this. We're going to be a better team for doing it, and they're going to be a better team for doing it. And we need to get more of those opportunities, and those are the opportunities we really look for in our program just to get us better. Now, sometimes you got to wipe the egg off your face when someone hands it to you, but if it makes you better, it's worth it. And so we're really looking forward to the experience.
You mentioned the environments, too, and as a card-carrying member of a lover of basketball, as I am, that's awesome. What you just talked about, being a part of that. Even if you get your ass whipped, which you will at some times, it'd have to still be incredibly awesome to be a part of all that, too, and that's why we love basketball. Hey, by the way, too, I was going to say you stirred the echoes when you were on the set with Joey and Rob. That was Blackman and Molinaro in that podcast. It was almost like you were back in the day with Joe Pate and Bob Ford. That's what I thought about.
The old hot tub time machine.
No, what? I go, man, I can't wait to send a text because these guys are my friends. And I thought, man, that's cool. It's like Joe Pate and Bob Ford back in 1983 or something like that. Hey, have yourself a great season. We will check in periodically over the course of it, too. And as always, thanks for the time and the best of luck. We'll do it again soon.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks.
Yeah, Matt Painter right there on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I have a great sense as much lower level, mind you, of success. But I love basketball, and you guys know that because I talk it up all the time. I love basketball, and I love just sitting back and listening to another lover of basketball. And with all the accomplishments of Matt and with zero of the accomplishments of me, it's always one of the better conversations I have because that is 100% total basketball. I love it. Quick break. We'll come back. Went a little bit lengthy there, but that's okay. Matt Painter and the Boilermakers start the season, as he mentioned, and they're going to get tested because that's what they won in that first game on the road in Lexington at Kentucky. 239-1070 is that number. The text line at 317-239-1070 as well. You can check in. We've got a lot more for you, including tomorrow's show, Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver of IU, and Chad Buchanan, general manager of the Pacers. That's coming up on tomorrow's show. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
I love JMV. He looks like Rascal Flatts guy.
Got a cool soul patch.
He does, and a buttery smooth voice.
Oh, yeah.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
We shall podcast that up with Purdue head coach Matt Painter on 1075thefan.com. Thank you to Matt for the time today. We'll do it a handful of times over the course of this season with Matt Painter. Tomorrow's show, Pacers general manager Chad Buchanan, IU wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr. will join us on tomorrow's show. Chase Briscoe of Mitchell, Indiana, coming up on Thursday. Road shows for us. Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots. I think I had a pretty decent week 7. I've had a pretty decent season. A week 8, Brent Halverson and I'm assuming Nally will be back, and Miller. We're going to be at the Joe's Grill location in Fishers off of Brook School Road coming up on Thursday. GG's, 71st and Benford Bud Light Blue Friday. Titans Colts tickets to give away. 71st and Benford, the legendary GG's, coming up on Friday. Can't wait. JMV, and yeah, I did reference. So, and I can't remember what the podcast is called. It is our good friend, actually friends, Rob Blackman. Rob Blackman, the voice of the Boilermakers, he and I, when I did my first ever sports talk show, he was my partner. Way, way back in the day. But Rob Blackman and Joey Molinaro, they do a Purdue podcast, I think, now. And I referenced that to Matt, saying it was almost getting throwback. He mentioned the hot tub time machine and Joe Payton, Bob Ford with Rob Blackman and Joey Molinaro.
It's For Pete's Sake.
For Pete's Sake. Both friends of ours, friends of the show. Joey Molinaro and Rob Blackman. For Pete's Sake. If you guys remember Joe Payton and Bob Ford. So Joe Payton and Bob Ford in the day had Purdue, and then obviously Jim Barber took over at some point in time. But it's legendary. Joe Payton, Bob Ford, and IU with Chuck Marlowe and John Laskowski. JMV, when you can get superstars like Bob Ford and John Laskowski as color analysts on your broadcast, you simply have to do it. And speaking of legendary like Gigi's, that's when Channel 4 was absolutely legendary, because if you're a member of my age group, if you're a member of Generation X, what would we have done without Channel 4? We'd have been screwed. And we felt screwed anyway. It had the sports. It had the entertainment. It had a little bit of everything. This time of year, it had Sammy Terry, the late, great Jim Gerard, and just a little bit of everything. Overall, an incredibly original entertainment. Those out there have zero idea what I'm talking about, the younger generation. I understand that. But let's just say this. Your fathers, your grandfathers, like us, we'd be screwed. Or your parents or your grandparents like us would be screwed without Channel 4. Simply put. I always like to thank him for that. Now, that was good stuff with Matt Painter a little bit earlier. The Joe Payton, Bob Ford reference. Let's see, that's when Farm Bureau Insurance had the sponsorship. And, you got what Martha, the mop lady, which hasn't always been somebody's handle on X. And you got the guy with the tuba for the Purdue games. It's glorious times. Got Jerry Baker in Pacer basketball, Reds games. It's how we watch sports other than the game of the week back then. Legendary indeed. Just like the spreadability of Win Schulers, that spreadability, you can find that at the Meyer locations. I found it yesterday, Meyer in Greenwood off of 135. You've got Win Schuler spreadability there and Gordon's Food Service, too. Original sharp cheddar, bacon and cheddar, jalapeno pepper. I know you guys are out and you're wanting to snack at the highest of all levels. That's how you do it with the spreadability of Win Schulers. And if you see it out beyond Meyer, beyond Gordon Food Service, let me know. And let me know in pictures so I can send that bad boy out on X. Yeah, entertainment for children, reruns of the great television shows of all time, original programming. Seriously, we're all screwed without it. We owe a debt of entertainment gratitude to Channel 4. And every time, because I come in on my inbound and outbound, I'm on Bluff Road, and I go by the former Channel 4 site. Always pretty special. Absolutely is. JMV, I think I'm going to take the under of the 37.5 for the Pacers season. I know you feel optimistic, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of injuries. Start the season, tough schedule. Yeah, I'm not going to be doom and gloom until it's time, but I can understand why you would like to feel that way. I'm going to put a little bit more stock in the group that's hanging around until they give me more of a reason. I am excited about the season starting with the Pacers coming up on Thursday. Hey, by the way, you get a little bit of a glimpse coming up later on tonight of that team you're going to play, that team that you lost to in 7 games of the NBA Finals. OKC starts later on tonight. Rockets and Thunder at 7:30. Now, that is the Kevin Durant-led Rockets. They're going to be loaded too, by the way. And the Warriors and the Lakers because, I guess you got to. NBC and Peacock coming up later on tonight. They got you covered. JMV on the text line, 317-239-1070. My team is blank this year. Love the 2017 Browns. I'm telling you what. You look at what's going on with the Colts. Look at what's going on with IU football. I mentioned Omar Cooper Jr. is going to join us on the show tomorrow. We are living in unprecedented times. That's why I guess I'm going to ride this feeling until the Pacers give you a reason not to ride that feeling. It's a long season too, but damn. Boilermaker basketball being number one, yeah. Got a little bit of everything at a high level right now. You take it. Yeah, I would love to get Daniel Jones on the show. I don't know. Normally on a Thursday, I will get somebody. I just don't know as of yet who that is going to be. They're back at practice coming up tomorrow. We'll get somebody coming up on Thursday, but 2 live show locations for you, Thursday and Friday. And then a late afternoon game coming up on Sunday. BullseyeEventGroup.com and that Colts VIP tailgate presented by Hayes & Sons Restoration will be ready to rock for you. All you can eat, all you can drink. Coming up on Sunday. We'll get your passes. If you don't win this week, you can easily get them. BullseyeEventGroup.com. By the way, too, if you need tickets to the game, you can combo that up with tickets to the game. All right, you ready for 50 in betting, 50 in dining, courtesy of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. We call that the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day. I sent that out a little bit earlier. Your chance to get a horse, your chance to win. Are you ready? The Tuesday edition. Here it comes, the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day.
The Ride with JMV.
I don't know what the hell's in there, but it's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Crank it up, James. I think this ranks pretty high on the greatest of all time SNL skits. You know who's in this? Jason Sudeikis is one. Jason Sudeikis is one. Do you know the other off the top of your head? Can you name the other?
I cannot.
Tim Robinson, who was, I think, check it out, maybe a writer for 4 years or so on SNL. Tim Robinson.
Yep, 2012 to 2016.
There's not very many people that will come up with that. Interesting, because NBC's iconic NBA song aired on the network from 1990 through 2002. Sudeikis and Robinson, they're the ones that co-starred in the SNL skit. That's April the 13th, 2013. So Tim Robinson, who I think was a writer and sometimes, I guess, according to this, actor for about 4 years, along with Jason Sudeikis. That was SNL season 38. Roundball Rock. Classic. Harrah's Hoosier Park, race of the day. David was the winner of the winning horse. Wonderkin Blue Chip paid $17.80 on a $2 bet. The $2 exacta was $30.60. The 50-cent trifecta, $37.30. That is your Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day. 50 in betting, 50 in dining. Courtesy, I should say, of Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. And we do this every single 5 o'clock hour, Tuesday through Friday. And remember, you have horse racing going on now through November. Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. I'll send out another horse list tomorrow. You pick, you could win the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day. Busy show tomorrow. I'll explain coming up in a minute. Meantime, 239-1070. Jeff is up next today. Jeff, thanks for the call. How are you?
Good. I'm a bit older than you, but I was going to give you my favorite Channel 4 memory.
You should, buddy.
Saturday mornings, Chuck Marlowe doing the wrestling commentation and interviewing Dick the Bruiser and Wilbur Snyder. It's just stuff I'll never forget.
That's one thing I did not reference, but the wrestling that had the wrestling, that's how we were all introduced to wrestling. Like there was that was a precursor to the WWF coming into this market with Dick the Bruiser. You mentioned Wilbur Snyder. Was he the world's most scientific wrestler? Wilbur Snyder. Bobo Brazil was another one.
Big Cat Ernie Ladd was around for a while.
Electric Steve Regal was another one back then. Yes, I mean I'm telling you, it was so many different generational levels of entertainment, and without that original programming, we were all kind of, at least us, me, in rural Southern Indiana, we were screwed.
And Chuck Marlowe was great at it, and then, of course, he did IU basketball after that. And first he got yelled at Dick the Bruiser, then he got yelled at by Bobby Knight. So, I mean,
yeah, it was a great time. It really was. And without that, we would be in big trouble back then. There wasn't a lot of entertainment a lot of entertainment options for us other than that.
It was a good time.
Yep.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Thank you very much for the call. JMV, so I also explained. Wait a minute. John, I was talking with some younger coworkers the other day and said something was blanked up like Channel 4 on Sunday. They had no idea what I meant. I couldn't imagine a television station just losing its signal. That was the go-to line back in high school and college, usually after one too many Zimas. Also tried to explain how we tried to watch porn that looked like poltergeist via a satellite the size of something NASA may have had. Yeah, all that is true. Not on Channel 4, mind you, but yeah. The description you just gave us is absolutely true. Bobo Brazil. The wrestling part was awesome, too. Now, the reference at the end of the conversation with Matt Painter was really good. Yeah, outstanding, in fact. Omar Cooper Jr. tomorrow. IU wide receiver. Chad Buchanan, Pacers general manager, coming up tomorrow. And a little bit of insight because the Pacers open up Thursday at home against the Thunder. The Thunder open up later on tonight on NBC and Peacock at 7:30 against the Rockets. Warriors and the Lakers at 10 indeed. The start of the NBA season is here. If you missed Tony East a little bit earlier, we talked about the Pacers and their situation. I said this, you don't want a committee. And unfortunately, you don't want a committee at a position, and the Pacers have two by-committee situations at the 5. Their bigs by committee and their backup point guard by committee, which is clearly not ideal to start your season, especially when you have a very tough schedule to start the season. Couple things to look for as far as your bigs are concerned. Can anybody evolve into being a threat? As a face-up shooter, can anybody be a threat in defending the rim? Because you can say what you want about Miles. Miles had a reputation with both. And he did not have a good finals, and everybody around here hates Miles. Now I realize that, but he had a reputation for both that none of these dudes have. Hopefully you see one that develops. Costanza jumps in here at 239-1070. Hello, Costanza. How are you?
Hey, good, John. Hey, just wanted to, don't forget Yukon Moose Cholak.
Cholak was awesome.
Yes. And how about roller derby? I loved roller derby. I don't know if Channel 4 aired that, but roller derby.
I don't know if they did or not, but yeah, they had everything else covered. I mean, from sports to television to movie stuff, Sunday afternoons from the morning war movie to Mom and Pa Kettle, they had it all for us.
Yeah, the Wild Wild West with James West and Artemis Gordon. I mean,
so true.
Those shows were just gems. I mean, they were just fantastic. But
so true.
Hey, everything's going to be all right. I'm going to send Tor Ekman. You know who Tor Ekman is? He's the holistic healer. He's going over to the Colts. He's going over to the Colts complex, and he's going to have a few guys drinking some couch bark, and then we're going to be just fine.
Gotcha.
These guys will get them back, and everything will be just fine. But, yeah, Channel 4, whatever happened to that big antenna over there? Did they
I think the antennas are still up. The building has long since been torn down, and nothing but like grass and weeds and such, and a driveway. That's about it.
That's about it. Yeah, I wish I could have grabbed that big antenna they had. I would have.
I wish I could have grabbed some of the videotapes they had. Thank you very much, Costanza. Some of the videotapes they had. What was really crushing is a lot of what they had was on tape. But instead of buying new tapes and keeping stuff archived, they taped over a lot of old shows, which is absolutely heartbreaking. BT brings this up. Is there any merit to this opinion? Taking down or messing with the JW Marriott for the shoe Colt sign as they're doing? Is that messing with a good 6-1 start karma right there at all? Is there any merit to that opinion?
I try not to be a superstitious person, but I also don't think I would mess with it at all if I had the ability to make that decision.
Now, I'm assuming either something else is going up there that is paid for, or the Colts no longer want to pay how much it costs for that particular advertisement.
That's probably
in that
right.
venue, right?
I'm sure there's an actual financial reason behind it. And
if I were the Colts, if there were a way, I'd leave it up. If I were the Colts and there was a way to maintain normalcy as much as possible in the first 7 weeks, I'd maintain.
I agree, and I would. I mean, the only way I could see this not potentially being like bad juju or whatever, as if it's another Colts thing that they're putting up there. Maybe they're just updating it or changing it or something.
Hopefully so. But what do I would not. You'd never listen. Crash Davis told us this in Bull Durham. You don't blank with a streak. You don't jack with a streak. And if you're playing well, if you're 6-1 because you're taking up a quarter of the front of the JW Marriott facing the east, then that's why it's happening. Leave it up.
Agree.
James, great job out of you. Bill, tomorrow, Fulton tomorrow. I can't get to you. I do have to run today, guys, and we will talk with you coming up on tomorrow's show. Tony East, Greg Rakestraw, Purdue head coach Matt Painter, the podcast with each, 1075thefan.com. Omar Cooper Jr., IU wide receiver. Chad Buchanan, Pacers general manager, coming up tomorrow. Should be fun. Chase Briscoe, NASCAR, Mitchell, Indiana, Persimmon Festival, Mitchell Blue Jacket on Thursday's show to start. Larceny Bourbon Locks, Luna Azul Tequila Shots Thursday, and Fisher's at Joe's Grill. Back in studio tomorrow. Thank you all for a great day. A little NBA action for you. We'll have you covered with it tomorrow. James, great job out of you. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Have a great night.